Today, most retirees are asking the wrong question about Roth conversions. They ask, should I do one? That shouldn't be the first question. The better question is, what future tax problem am I trying to solve? Because here is where most people miss. A traditional IRA is not all yours. Part of that account belongs to the IRS. You just don't know how much yet. And doing nothing, leaving it all where it is still a tax decision. You're just letting the IRS decide when taxes come due. And later may not be the better time. I'm Dustin Rudolph, owner and founder of Legacy Ascent Wealth. On this channel, we focus on helping retirees plan so they can live their best retirement. Today, we're going to talk about Roth conversions, not as a product, not as a prediction about where tax rates are going, but as a strategy to create more tax control in retirement. I'm going to show you 5 questions. Answer these in order, and you will have a much better understanding of whether a Roth conversion makes sense for you. How much to convert, when to convert, and when to stop. Now let's dig into it. Most people make this too simple. They pull up their tax return, they see the 22% tax bracket, and they think, I will probably be in the 22% tax bracket in retirement, so this is a wash. And yeah, that's part of the conversation, but it's not enough. Because here's what that math ignores: required minimum distributions. At 73, the IRS is going to force you to withdraw from your IRA, whether you need the money or not. That income stacks on top of Social Security, and it can push you into a tax bracket that you never expected. Next is IRMAA, the Medicare premium surcharge. Cross certain income thresholds, and your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums can increase. Roth conversion income counts towards that calculation. And then there's the surviving spouse problem. When one spouse passes away, the survivor often files as a single taxpayer. The tax is compressed, the RMDs don't stop, and the same income that looked manageable as a married couple may become less tax efficient for the surviving spouse. And here's one more variable that no one controls: Congress. I'm not here to predict what Congress will do. Nobody can. But tax law changes. Medicare premiums change, Social Security rules can change, and retirement can last 20, 25, or even 30 years. Building a plan around the assumption that today's rules will stay favorable forever, that's not planning, it's hoping. Social Security and Medicare are both under financial pressure. That does not mean they disappear. It does not mean that retirees should panic, but the math has to be corrected somehow. That correction could come from higher taxes, benefit changes, later eligibility ages, more means testing, higher Medicare premiums, or some combination of any of those. So if most of your retirement savings is sitting in pre-tax account, future tax brackets matter a lot. Future Medicare rules matter. Future Social Security taxation rules matter. And the amount of control that you have today matters. Let me introduce you to Jim. Jim is 63. He's retiring next year at 64. He has $1.8 million in his IRA, another $200,000 in a taxable brokerage account. No pension. His Social Security benefit at full retirement age is roughly $3,100 a month. Jim has been told that he should do Roth conversions by a friend, by an article, by someone on YouTube. Sound familiar? But nobody has walked him through how to actually decide. So instead of asking, should Jim do a Roth conversion, we're going to ask a better question. Does Jim have a temporary tax window that he should consider using before it closes? 5 questions. Let's go. Question 1. Do you have a tax gap between retirement and RMDs? This is the period when you stop working and when your taxable income fully turns on. For many retirees, these are the lowest income years of their retirement. No W-2, no Social Security yet if you're delaying, no RMDs. Your only taxable income might be interest, dividends, and whatever you choose to pull from your IRA. That is the window. Let's look at Jim. From 64 to 70, Jim delays Social Security. His only taxable income is roughly $6,000 in dividends from his brokerage account. That's it. He has nearly $40,000 of room from the 12% bracket every year for 6 years. If Jim converts $40,000 per year during the gap and pays 12% on it, he moves $240,000 from pre-tax to Roth at 12 cents on the dollar. If he waits until after Social Security and RMDs begin, that same money may come out later at 22%, or 24%, or 36%, or 40%, depending on what his total income looks like and where tax rates are in the future. That spread alone could present more than $24,000 of federal tax difference before factoring in future growth, Medicare premiums, or their surviving spouse issue. But here's the discipline. You do not convert just because your tax bracket is low. You convert because your tax bracket may be lower than the tax bracket you are likely to face later. Those are not the same thing. Okay, question 2. What will your RMDs look like if your IRA keeps growing? This is where doing nothing stops feeling safe. Here's Jim at 75. Social Security, $3,100 a month. That's $37,200 a year. And up to 85% of Social Security can be taxable. His IRA, if he does not convert, is not $1.8 million at 73. It could be much higher. Compounding at even 6% for 10 years, it could be over $3.2 million. A required minimum distribution on that larger balance could be substantial. Then add in Social Security, then add interest, then add dividends. Now, Jim may be in a much different tax position than he expected. Remember Jim's conversion window? He may have had the ability to move money out at 12%, but if he waits, that money may come out later at a higher tax rate. Doing nothing may feel safe because you are not writing a check to the IRS today. But doing nothing may simply mean you're letting the IRS decide when taxes come due later. And later may not be a better time. Question 3. How much of your retirement is exposed to rules you do not control? That is the question most people skip. A Roth conversion is not a bet that tax rates are definitely going up. It's a strategy to reduce your exposure if they actually do. If most of your retirement savings is in a traditional IRA, 401k, you have a silent partner. That silent partner is the IRS. And Congress gets to decide what percentage that partner takes in the future. You do not control tax brackets. You do not control Medicare premium thresholds. You do not control Social Security taxation rules. And once RMDs begin, you do not fully control when money comes out of your IRA. But right now, you may control whether some of that money moves into a tax-free bucket while the window is still open. Here's the principle. Every dollar in a traditional IRA carries a future tax liability. You just do not know exactly what that liability will be. A Roth conversion pays that liability now at a known rate and moves the dollar into a bucket where it may grow tax-free and come out tax-free if the rules are followed. That is why I do not like blanket statements. Everyone should do Roth conversions, or Roth conversions are a bad idea. Both are lazy. The real question is, how much future tax uncertainty are you carrying? And is it worth reducing some of it while you still have the window? Question 4, will this conversion trigger IRMAA or higher Medicare premiums? This is one that gets overlooked constantly. IRMAA stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. In plain English, it is a Medicare premium surcharge. It is based on your modified adjusted gross income from 2 years prior. For 2026, the IRMAA threshold is $106,000 for a single filer. Cross it by even a small amount and your Medicare premiums can increase for the year. A lot of people look only at tax brackets when planning a conversion. They see a 22% tax bracket and think, I have room. But they forget to ask whether the conversion pushes them into a higher Medicare premium tier. Because Roth conversion income counts towards your modified adjusted gross income, towards IRMAA, toward the 2-year look back, so the math has to account for both. For Jim, it is clean. He converts $40,000 per year. His modified adjusted gross income stays around $46,000. well below the $106,000, no IRMAA exposure. But if Jim got aggressive and converted $90,000 a year now, he's at $96,000, closer to the line. One good year in his brokerage account could tip him over. And once you are over the threshold, the surcharge can apply for that year. The discipline is simple. Know the tax bracket, know the Medicare thresholds, know the 2-year look back, and know whether the long-term tax benefit is worth the short-term IRMAA cost. If you're watching this and you're looking for a substantial IRA, $500,000 or more, this is exactly the kind of modeling we do. Not should I convert as a yes/no question, but how much, when, and at what cost, and what it may actually save over your lifetime. Our tax laboratory will tell you for each and every year at which tax bracket or IRMAA threshold is going to save you the most amount of money over your lifetime based upon the projections that we're modeling. Question 5, and for married couples, this may be the one that matters most. What happens to the surviving spouse? When one spouse passes away, the survivor often files as a single taxpayer. The brackets compress, the standard deduction is lower, but the IRA doesn't shrink. The RMDs don't stop. The same income that looked manageable as a married couple can become much less tax efficient for the surviving spouse. The question is not just what tax rate am I paying today? The better question is what tax situation am I leaving behind? And that's a very different conversation. Roth conversions during the gap years, while you're still filing jointly and while tax brackets are wider, may reduce the IRA balance before the RMDs begin. That may reduce future RMDs. That may reduce the tax burden on the surviving spouse. That is not just about your tax bill, it's about the tax bill that you may leave behind. So, what does Jim do? Jim has a 6-year gap, room in the 12% bracket, no IRMAA exposure at $40,000 per year, a projected RMD issue if he does nothing, and he is married, which means the surviving spouse question is real. He also has roughly $1.8 million in pre-tax account where the IRS has not taken its share yet. Jim converts $40,000 per year over 6 years, converting $240,000 total, taxed at 12%. Not everything, not blindly, not emotionally, intentionally. He converts enough to reduce future RMD pressure, to build a tax-free bucket, to create more flexibility for his spouse, and to pay tax at a rate he knows today instead of leaving everything exposed to rates he cannot control later. If you can't answer these 5 questions, you are not really making a Roth conversion decision. You're guessing, and guessing is not a retirement tax strategy. Most retirement tax mistakes do not feel urgent when they are happening. The window is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. Nobody from the IRS sends you a letter that says, hey, this may be your best Roth conversion year. Nobody from Medicare calls and says, be careful, this Roth conversion may affect your premiums 2 years from now. And nobody warns the surviving spouse ahead of time that the brackets may be less forgiving. That is why retirees miss the opportunity. Once the window closes, the options can become more limited. So the better question is not, should I do a Roth conversion? The better question is, do I have a temporary tax window, and what happens if I ignore it? If you have questions on this topic or any other retirement tax or income topic, schedule a complimentary consultation below. Work with a qualified retirement income certified professional who can model this out with your actual numbers so you don't guess. It's not just hope, you plan, and you keep more of what you work so hard for. We'll see you on the next one.